strap on your tool belts and grab a cup of coffee. It's time for My Fix It Up Life with Mark and Teresa.
Yes, you are. And your toe is cramping up.
And your face is being cute.
Ha ha ha. Knock knock.
Who's there? Who's there?
The smart board.
The smart board who?
The smart board is watching YouTube all day long because he's a smart board.
Jack, if you could design a bedroom, what would you put in it?
Everything.
You put everything in?
Nothing but Minecraft.
What?
Minecraft stuff only in there.
Would you put it inside the earth, underground? Because isn't that where Minecraft lives? In the earth?
It lives. Minecraft goes to the farm.
Ooh.
It lives to the first night. The zombie's burning on fire when it's coming. It kills Steve and he falls to the ground and he's dead.
That doesn't sound like a great story. I don't know if
clouds come out everywhere.
I don't know if I want you designing anything for me if things are going to be blowing up.
Hey, My Fix It Up Lifers, welcome to My Fix It Up Life today. And we're talking about designing for autism and designing for kids, adults, middle-aged people who have sensory disorders and how that is a growing thing.
Yeah, so, design is a powerful tool. And thinking about how many people have sensory issues, and there's statistics like 3 million people in our country have some kind of spectrum diagnosis. And I think many more of us can say, you know what, I think we have some kind of, environmental stimulus that's driving us mad too. So I think there's kind of things that we can find out from design experts, thinking about our spaces, thinking about all of our design tools in our little design toolbox that we can pull out and maybe make life a little bit easier for everyone.
Yeah, I've heard autism described as people who have no filter. And I don't mean that in the meme kind of weird Facebook way. I mean, they literally can't discern between a police siren, the kid talking 10 feet away, lights that shimmer or flicker. It all hits them with the same full force, 100% intensity. And when you're dealing with someone like that, the first step, I guess, is to know that that's happening. And the second step is to figure out, I guess, what works for them. And that's what we get to talk about today. And I think it's important.
It is important. So I'm psyched to talk to all these design experts that we have on today's My Fix It Up Life show. So stay tuned, and we will be sharing all kinds of really cool insights and tips to make your life a little bit less stressed.
Hey, Lifers, you're back inside it, and we are talking about design for autism and design for people with sensory issues.
Yes, because, when I think about designing for autism, and I imagine that a lot of people are sort of in my area, where you think about kids, you think about little kids, and especially like little boys. I don't know, I think maybe it's because I've read articles or seen things on the news or whatever about kids on the spectrum. But it's something that I always do. I think about children, but it's not just kids, because those kids grow up into adults. And so we are so lucky to have an expert with us, Mark, who wrote a trilogy.
Yes, AJ Paron-Wildes, who's an expert, and I'm going to call her an Uber designer, both in this field, which I don't even know if it's a field.
A trilogy, though. I didn't get to finish what I was saying. A trilogy about designing for autism at different stages of life.
So, AJ, how did you get what's your approach to this whole thing? I shouldn't even call it a thing because that sounds like it diminishes it, and it's not. But what's your approach?
So this kind of all started, I have a long history in interior design and actually did my thesis in school on designing for Alzheimer's. And what happened is my son was diagnosed with autism at age 3, and I was really lost. I didn't know what to do for him. I wasn't a speech therapist. I wasn't an occupational therapist. I wasn't a doctor. I didn't really know how to reach him. And I ended up reading an amazing book by Temple Grandin, who's a very savant, autistic, famous person. And the book was Thinking in Pictures, and she really described how it was to be an individual with autism and experience a space and color and light and sound and looking at people. And so that just made my brain go into crazy mode and said, hey, I can do something with this. I know how to design. I know how to be sympathetic to how a person experiences a space. And so I think that's the biggest aha that I got out of the whole project was every individual with autism, it doesn't matter what age they are, is probably experiencing an environment, a designed environment differently than you are. They could be seeing color differently. They could be noticing shadows where your brain isn't picking that up. They could hear different noises. And so there's so much stimuli coming in at them. They're just having a completely different experience than you are. And so I call that design empathy. And that's kind of what I've been teaching people is how to understand how space can affect people.
That is such a really powerful thing, is thinking about design and thinking about empathy at the same time, because design can completely change how anyone feels about a space, and that you can use that power for good and to really affect people and make a difference in a positive way more than just giving people what they want. I think that's amazing.
Well, thank you.
And when you're thinking about, you know, a specialty like designing for autism, it's really not something that is so special in a way that it can't help everyone. Because I know we go to those birthday parties. Oh my goodness gracious.
Holy mother of God.
I am just like, what is happening? Am I at a college rave? Like, why is it black lights? Why is everything fluorescent? Why
are
is
there
it
girls in
disco stuff?
bikinis on the TV screen? They're 5.
Really?
Oh my God.
You've seen that?
The bowling party. Don't get me started.
Let's not go down that road.
Don't get me started. You got me started.
It's loud. It's crazy. It's like, what is happening? Those weren't the birthday parties I went to. And thinking about it in a way that a lot more kids are being diagnosed with being on the spectrum. How are these birthday parties, like for a birthday party, what do you do? I have to ask.
Well, some of it is teaching these kids how to deal with these situations. And, you know, if we go back to the crux of the problem, about 20 years ago, we started designing differently. It was experiential design. And so you think of like a major retailer, and somebody would walk in there. It wasn't just about what they were selling. It was about the smells that they were piping in the smells of orchids, the lighting, the visual display, the tactile, like there's mist and fog coming down. And so when you walk into a lot of these designed environments, they've been created to give you an experience, an immersion. And that's kind of great for the average person, but for kids with autism, it's really difficult for them to be able to handle those environments. And so a lot of times what you do is that comes down to therapy of trying to get them successful and understand that it's not fearful, but some kids just can't handle it.
So are we just having too many options with like technology and design and stuff that it's too easy to make something be absolutely crazy? Like with baby nurseries and kids' rooms. I mean, everyone sees these amazing things people pin on Pinterest. But if your child has sensory issues, like having a roller coaster in your bedroom is probably not the best idea.
It's not the best idea for me.
Unless it's a therapy tool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's actually great research that was done a long time ago about nurseries and just typical children, that the kids that had a more neutral palate and less visual stimuli, they actually slept through the night longer and had better sleeping habits than babies that had a lot more stimulation and brighter colors in their nursery. So, I mean, I look at it not just about autism. There's a spectrum here. And if we really talked about all the deficiencies that people have with autism, we all have a little bit of those traits. You know, you might be really sensitive to certain noises, or somebody might always need to sit by the window in the airplane because that makes them feel safe. I mean, we all kind of have a little bit inside of us, and that's just human nature. But where it becomes a problem is when you need that child to be successful doing something, reading, doing therapy, eating. Sometimes it's about being successful, having that kid eat or sleep or be able to take a bath. And so that's where we kind of concentrate on making those environments adaptable so that they can be successful there. And, you know, you can't control the world, right? I remember the first time I tried to take my son to Disney World, and I was going there for a conference, and he was 4 and pretty early diagnosed, and I knew this could be a disaster. And so I took him to our local children's museum, and the first time he went there, he lasted 5 minutes and then had a meltdown. The second time we went, he lasted 20 minutes. The third time he went, he lasted 50 minutes. And then, you know, we built him up over a couple months, and by the time we got to Disney World, he did just fine. In fact, he said his first spontaneous word there. So that was, you know, really motivating for him. But
that sounds
I couldn't control the world, but you know, you can control some things that are in your house or in the teaching therapy studio or the schools or the doctor's offices, and that's where we concentrate.
Now, when, you know, in thinking about the design elements and how you can control design, I'm fascinated because I don't know if I've ever heard a lot about designing for autism for older people. Now, right. Is there somebody who, how do you approach that? We only have a few minutes too.
So it's really talking about accommodating what that person needs and having more a centered approach design. Every person is different. And, you know, some people can't handle being very social and they need certain accommodations in their own rooms. They need opportunities to exercise and maybe do their hobbies. And so if you just take regular elderly care and assisted living, that model doesn't really work for individuals with autism because they need different things. And so I think that's the biggest takeaway is that, you know, a lot of these individuals have special diets or they have sensory issues when they're eating, and they can't be eating in a place full of people. They have to be in a separate room. And so it's being able to accommodate them and getting them to be successful in those environments so that they can be more and more independent. And technology is doing a lot. I mean, now we have all this equipment that we can monitor people and not actually have personal care assistants there, but we can monitor them and see that if they're, you know, functioning well or if they're in the safety zone, and yet, you know, we're tracking them and making sure that they're not disappearing and doing things that are bad.
Well, I imagine that this is going to be a growing topic because as, you know, more and more kids are diagnosed with being on the spectrum or being suspicious of being on the spectrum, there's going to be talk about, you know, autism growing up and stuff. I can just see it on like NBC and CNN and, you know, this whole generation of kids that have been diagnosed and as they're aging. And because I don't think it's something that's new. I just think it's something we're aware of. And perhaps we have too much stuff around us too. That it just makes it.
Yes, we do have too much stuff around us.
Goodness gracious.
AJ, thank you so
much.
Thank you. Lifers, you should follow her. You should get into what she knows at AJ Paron-Wildes. That's with an E on Twitter.
Yes, we'll have a link to it. And also check out our trilogy on Amazon. And we're out. Take your inspiration into real life with Shoreline paint products. From easy pour-and-store paint can lids to tools that help give you a perfect line. For more information, check out shoreline.com.
MyFixitUpLifers. We're back inside it, and we're still talking about designing for autism and people who have sensory conditions. So it's not just autism. It's sort of that whole blanket thing. And we are joined by the super awesome,
lovely,
and hilarious,
beautiful,
and polymath, if you will, from gossip to really the serious stuff we're talking about. Joined with a head shake, Jennifer Bertrand. Thank you for being here.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
You are so gorgeous and beautiful, and like there's a light that shines from within, which is just magical. So I'm happy, in a good mood.
Thanks.
And I'm having no sensory problems right now. How about you?
Just enjoying the sensations of having Jennifer join us to talk about this topic.
Because when I think about like designing for autism and sensory issues, and I think about designing for special spaces and all of the work that you have done with Ronald McDonald houses and all the like sensitive design that you've done, which isn't just like, oh my gosh, we just made over this beautiful space. Look at the color on the wall, the fabric. We did this all for 47 cents. No, that kind of design that we're all like, you know, waiting to watch and know what happens. But, you know, sensitive design, I always think of you. And so we would love to just sort of know about what your thoughts are on this topic.
Well, and like you guys know, I've been given an adventure in life with our own son and his adventures. So I've experienced it from a really personal perspective. So when I do this, I think with my head and my heart. And think about it. You're designing a sensory space for autism. You need to quiet the noise of the world around them. So you have to make a space that feels good to their soul and brings it back to a calming basic.
How do you, there's no answer to this, just I'm telling you now. When you're dealing with this though, and I get it with your own child, but how do you find that soul that you're reaching to calm? You know what I'm getting at? Yeah. Like you're talking about reaching an emotion, and that's hard.
And honestly, like for all the designers out there, anyone who's a parent of someone, it's really about taking the time to know who you're helping. The spectrum of autism is huge, so you have to take it on an individual case-by-case basis. But at the Ronald McDonald House, we had to think huge and think someone with every issue is going to be in that space. But for you, if you're doing an individual room, you have to know your subject and you have to take the time to ask questions. It's actually quite fun.
So how do you think about all the possible potential issues that kids might have who live in a Ronald McDonald house? Like, how do you even go through all of those different needs and situations that they might need to have in their environment to succeed?
One of the best secrets of being a great designer is really arming yourself with the experts. So for us, it's talking to physical therapists and anyone who works with people with sensory issues. If you have a child and you're going to do their bedroom, talk to their therapist. So it's really educating yourself and arming yourself for it. But for us, it was thinking about kids away from home and needing a space that felt like, yes, you're going through something poopy, but you need to have a space that, and poopy's a technical design term.
Obviously.
But you need a space that made it feel okay to be away. So something fun, something that wasn't overwhelming, something interactive, something that could always evolve and turn into something else. So it was thinking about how to redefine a space in a bunch of different ways and a lot of different age levels as well.
Is there a difference, just generally speaking, between the younger and the older? Do the older want something a little differently than the younger crave it? Or the principles apply as the age increases?
Like in reference to autism or everything?
Or sensory situations. So for example, you know, you've been talking about Ronald McDonald House, and I'm thinking about hospitals and almost saying to myself, well, that's the reason why hospitals are white, it's not because it's cheap paint. It's because it's, well, you got somebody with a broken leg and you got somebody with something else over here. Just paint the thing white and, you know, neutralize it. But
well, you know what?
Yeah,
Kansas City's lucky. We have a graffiti artist named Scribe who works with Children's Mercy Hospital, and he's really kind of taken it and turned it on its head, because you think of hospitals as sterile and white and boring, but Children's Mercy in Kansas City has made it like Disney World, to where you come in and you're like, oh my gosh. There's a part where Winston can press a light, Winston's my son, and like change the ceiling in the space. So part of it is having moments within the hospital, moments within the Ronald McDonald House. So you have your warm, fuzzy, safe room that makes you feel home away from home. And then you have something that keeps you busy. And yes, of course it changes by age, because think about it, all of us, like I'm not as, you know, into the same things as I was when I was 20, which I wish I was, but we all like different things at different ages. So you've got to think, it's like designing a kid's room. A lot of times I'll paint things on canvases so it can evolve and change. Part of the thing is keeping things, like having a little bit of an organic element within it, bringing the outside in, because when you're in hospitals all day, you've got fluorescent lighting, your soul is already heavy, and you need things that give you a little hug and a push that say, this is only a moment in your life and it will not define every day afterwards.
I love
Sorry,
that.
I get a little passionate.
No, and I do not like the way that, you know, the medical setting, you know, doctors' offices, they all look the same. They all buy from the same catalog or website. And, you know, hospitals, you kind of feel like worse being there because it's not uplifting. And so I love hearing about how a hospital isn't that way. And I think grown-up hospitals should be that way too. Like if I'm in the hospital, I want to hit a button and make things change.
All I heard was 20 years old and goofing off. So what are we talking about now?
We're talking about having fun.
Oh, well, even with design, when I approach clients' houses, I think about it. Every day they're going through the humdrum of everyday life. So who doesn't want to come home and have a space that makes you feel happy and remind you why you go to work, remind you why you love your children, even though at that moment you may want to, you know, put them somewhere else. Like you need stuff to remind you that this is what it does. And your environment can do that. So caring about your house and where your house is, if your listeners look around their house, it sums up where you are in life at that time. So, and sometimes I'm the cobbler with no shoes. I'm in a life where my house isn't making me money, so I'm doing everyone else's, and I have a special needs child. And so I have taken the time to start working on my own house because it feels good when you take the time to take care of your environment.
Yes, that is so true. You know, taking care of your own self is not something that a lot of people who spend time, designers, carpenters, anybody, electricians. Oh my gosh, you can't even tell my sister her husband is an electrician, and
a lot of extension cords in their house.
Yeah. So anyway, but it happens to everyone. But caring for yourself, it comes out in so many more beautiful ways that you can help other people better. You can listen better. You can, you know, open yourself to more experiences and be less stressed. So what do you do to not get stressed? What are your little secrets? Because you live a very busy life.
It's evolved because I've had this whole medical journey through it. And my happy space is when I honestly do something for ourselves in our own house. It's funny because my assistant, we are doing her house, and it's like this beautiful, amazing house, and we're doing like this $600,000 remodel. And I took her cabinets that she ripped out of her house because they were too good to waste, and we're utilizing them in our living room and turning it into extra storage and all of that. So I think I love the adventure and the challenge of going, you know, how do I make pleather look good? So.
How do I make pleather look good?
That's a $600,000 remodel. I want to work for you. How much do you pay?
Oh, Lord.
I know. Isn't that crazy? It's so nice. Like, I've been very lucky. Here's exciting. I'm doing a Sporting Kansas City player's house, Major League Soccer, and his wife was just on the World Cup winning team, Sydney LaRue. So I'm getting to help them in their house which is cool because they are young and in their 20s and uber cool. And I show up a hot mess and like going, we're going to make this fabulous. But I wanted to go back about the sensory stuff. I do want to tell everyone, if you go on Pinterest, there are a million things out there for you to help you address a sensory need in a space. But you have to make sure you start with the core basics, like the colors on the wall and the whole overall space before you get to do the fun stuff. So I just want to make sure your listeners know, take care of the proper calming pink colors, and then go on Pinterest, and it's really the world at your fingertips on things you can do.
That is so true. It's just like with you taking care of your own self. You want to put moisturizer on before you put on all your beautiful makeup, right?
Wait, I got to jot
Is that what you do, darling? No?
Hold on one second.
I do think we do have to go, but so where should everybody find you? Where should we go on Twitter? Should we go on Facebook?
Twitter, JB Loves Design, Facebook, Jennifer Olden Bertrand, or jenniferbertrand.com. And I always have fun adventures up my sleeve.
Ooh. Always go to Awesome Sauce.
Well,
you're fantastic.
Cyber stalking you.
Lifers, we got to go. Stay with it.
Sanding walls before you paint? Do it the Hyde way, not the hard way, with Hyde's dust-free sander. Attach to your wet dry vac and go. No drywall dust on your furniture, no tough cleanup when you're done. Buy online at Amazon.
You know, we talk about design all the time, and there's a million shows on TV and whatever, approaches Pinterest, and a lot of times I feel like it's just frivolous.
I know you think that a lot of things that I obsess about and think are wonderful and actually change your life that you don't even know about it. You know, those things are really important. Color, texture, shimmer, you know, size, space, picking the perfect object to put in the perfect spot just makes my little heart explode with joy. But this designing, this is a little bit different. It's the same tools, but just using them in a different way. So we're so glad that you joined us. If you want to keep going on with this conversation, join us on Twitter, on Facebook, and send us little messages. Put comments on our MyFixitUpLife.com website. We love to hear from you.
Our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and subscribe to all of these shows. We love to have you join us every week, and we got to go. And I'm doing my yoga in my backyard. And it's calm, it's peaceful. The birds are chirping. Plants waking up all around me where I live. And this is how I find my calm, my center, and be able to deal with all the chaos and the noise and the frustration of life. My neighbors, they're having a little bit of a party. They're giggling. It's great. I love laughter. I love joy, but not quite ready for it yet. Haven't had any coffee. Haven't finished my yoga. And I want to hear the birds sing to me. Call me selfish, but we all need to find the center in life, be able to relax and get rid of all that sound and visual stuff that makes us so insane. I think that's why they invented noise-canceling headphones.
You might be just a pretty face looking back at me. You might be an idle conversation piece. You might be another wasted memory, but I'd like to wait and see. You might be the first date on a city street. You might be a kiss that brings me to my knees. You might be initials carved into a tree, and I'd like to wait and see. Sometimes we agree just to agree. Sometimes we fight with the referee. But I'm so glad you walked into my life, into my fix-it-up life. This is my fix-it-up life. Might be a white dress walking up to me. You might be a sunrise in a sky blue sea. You might be the holder of my front door key at night. I'd like to wait and see. Sometimes